I was adopted by a guy who was a bad guy. He ended up going to prison for attempted murder of me and my mom when I was 17. All I knew was violence and abuse. I was going to go out in a blaze of glory. Everybody I know from those days is either dead or in prison. If I got stabbed in the chest one night, right as that knife went in, this Bible verse popped into my head. The sins of the father are born onto the children. And I was like, oh my gosh, like if I keep doing what I'm doing, making these choices, that's going to be the future for my kid.
Welcome to another episode of High Stakes with Steve Rozenberg. I am super excited for today's episode. This gentleman was introduced to me, and the guy, mutual friend who introduced us, said, man, you guys are just going to get along from go. And he couldn't have been more right. It's like I've known this guy for years after 10 minutes of texting and having conversation. I was so impressed with him, who he is, what he does, what he stands for. I asked him, could I possibly get you to come down to speak at my conference? Because I personally want to meet you selfishly. I want to hang out with you, but I also think that you can change some lives of the people that are coming. And he said, Steve, I'm down. I'm in. So, Jason Sisneros is here with me. His name precedes him. Everyone I've mentioned his name to is like, that's a stand-up guy. He is the guy, sets the bar. So Jason, first of all, man, thanks for being on the show with me, brother.
Oh, it's my pleasure, man. And I love, like, you know, when you said we got along from jump, it's like, not only do we have the perfect haircut.
Oh yeah.
Right. Not only do we have the perfect haircut
and the looks.
Yeah, that's it. That goes along with it. Right. You know, and not to be, you know, arrogant or anything like that.
I got nothing against ugly people, but us good looking guys got to stick together.
That's right. But it's, you know, you don't, there's not a big chunk of people that are out there like that are service. Every cell in their body is like service oriented. You know what I mean? And it takes some massive ass kickings in life to get that to come out. I think everybody has the potential, right?
Yeah.
But you have to have, what I've noticed anyway, it's just been, maybe it's anecdotal, but just along the road in my life as well, the harder I got my ass kicked in life, the more humble it made me, and the more choosy it made me about the people that I hang out with. And immediately from meeting you, and again, same thing. Everybody, I'm like, hey, who is this guy? Well, I was like, oh, rock star, loves people, serves people, you know, and plus, you know, you're a pilot. Like everybody loves pilots.
Who doesn't love pilots? Even God wants to be a pilot on Halloween. I mean, that's just how it is, man.
That's just how it is. Well, he put wings on, you know, on the angels. So
that's right, man. That's got to tell you something, man. So Jason, for people that don't know you, if they've been living under a rock, who are you? What do you do? And who is Jason?
Yeah, it's, I mean, I'll say who I am, but I want it for your audience to understand, it's just that we all walk the same path, right? I mean, there's a lot of people, there's probably not too many people that watch your show or follow you or around you that, you know, had a life of silver platter.
Yeah.
It just,
good point.
For people around us, it's not our people. They're not to say there's anything wrong with them. It's just not our people. Yeah. And, you know, I had a rough upbringing. I was adopted, you know, really young, by a guy who was, a bad guy. He ended up going to prison for attempted murder of me and my mom when I was 17. Lots of years of abuse between, you know, in those years, you know, step in front of my mom as soon as I could, like 7, 8 years old. And, you know, and all the stuff that he tried to beat out of me, I think built strength, you know, beat strength into me. And I also had the most amazing grandparents, you know, in the world, and they just loved me. And then I had coaches, right? You and I have talked about sports a lot.
Sure.
And the coaches would seed into me when I was acting like, you know, all I knew was violence and abuse. You know, I started collecting money when I was 16. I started delivering drugs when I was 12. Like, wow. You know, and I was a good fighter because I've been fighting a full grown man since I was 8, 9 years old. Right.
Yeah.
And so, but, all of us have choices. Like, I thought that was going to be my life. And, early on, I thought that I was going to go out in a blaze of glory. Everybody I know from those days is either dead or in prison.
Yeah.
And that was my goal. My nickname, with the little gang I was running around with was Psycho. I was going to go out like hardcore. Right.
Yeah.
And so, but then I had a kid, and I was like, oh my gosh. And my grandma, when I would get beat up really bad when I was a kid and locked in a room, my grandma always made sure that I had a Bible. And I was never really religious until recently. But there was this Bible verse when I decided to change my life. I got stabbed in the chest one night. Right as that knife went in, this Bible verse popped into my head, and it was, the sins of the father are born onto the children. My son was born 4 days before this happened. And I was like, oh my gosh, like if I keep doing what I'm doing, making these choices, that's going to be the future for my kid. And that's when I started to change. And much like everybody that's watching, it doesn't change overnight. It's a small thing, right? It's like, I'm going to watch a Steve Rozenberg podcast, and then I'm going to get to his event, and then I'm going to start hanging out with better people. It's like, those little tiny things that have now led me into being a, pretty prolific business owner. Started out crashing my first 3, learned a lot, came back from that, traveled the country with Tony Robbins, was in proximity to some of the greatest business minds in the world, rebuilt I took all my failures and the things that they taught me, put it back together, became a turnaround specialist, then started buying companies, turning them around, built a private equity firm of my own, sold, had a major exit back in 2019, and, started doing child rescues about 10 years ago. And now I just kind of get to do things like when you called me up, like, do you want to come down? I'm like, yeah, right. I want to help small and mid-sized business owners really do well for themselves, because that's freedom. Like, that's one of the things, we just went through this weird time from 2020 to now. And a lot of it was a centralized government trying to put controls on in different ways and in the name of help and all this. I just, small and mid-sized business owners, it's decentralized finance. And finance is freedom, right? And that's really what it is. If you can build your company to exit it, you buy you and your family and maybe your next generation or two freedom.
Do you think it's finance, or is it financial literacy?
It has to start. I don't get, it's a great question, Steve. You must eventually, to be wealthy and to be free, you must acquire the ability to have financial understanding, financial clarity. But in the meantime, stack cash, right?
Yeah.
Stack cash, take it off the table, and learn along the way, right? This is why your event exists, is to bring people who are good at making money. They're in business, right? Now, what do you do next? Like, what's the next steps to build actual wealth? Two different things. And financial literacy, it's a must along the way, for sure.
Well, it's funny. As I said it, I almost retracted it, because it's kind of like, you're not going to become a scratch golfer by reading books and becoming the best reader on golf.
Well said.
At some point, you got to go out to the course and start swinging the clubs and miss. And in business, listen, I talk to entrepreneurs like you do all the time, and I ask them, do you like gambling? How much do you love putting everything of your life on black in Vegas? They're like, oh, I would do that. I'm like, isn't being an entrepreneur the biggest gamble of your life? Because money, they reprint.
Right.
But the time that you've wasted, you're never getting that time back, and you don't have nothing to show for it. And the biggest regret is probably the 85-year-old man on his deathbed saying, I wish I had more time. And that's what we were at. We never say, I wish I had more money.
Right.
And to your point, and that's why as soon as I said that, I paused, because how many of us and people watching started doing what we were doing, and we had no idea. It's when the outside world got to us and said, you're doing what? Why would you? That's stupid. You're going to go bankrupt. And they're like, maybe I'll go bankrupt. Maybe I should stop. The other world's telling me this. But we did this on a basic gamble of maybe running away from the fear of the life we didn't have.
Solid. Yeah. Solid. A ringing going on. I don't know if that's my phone or, okay. So anyway, but you're, to your point, we're not only gamblers, right? Like this is the biggest gamble, but we're playing a game. It would be like you and I going to Vegas, right? And we're going, all right, no, let's make it even better. Hey, Steve, I want you to invest in this thing with me. Okay. You have a 95% chance of losing everything that you give me. Mm-hmm. You want to play? Right.
And you know, to me now, what I've learned in this scenario, and I've learned from being around private equity, smart gentlemen like yourself, is they say, Steve, what you're asking the wrong question. You should be asking is what does the 5% payout?
Exactly.
Because if it pays out way more than the 95%, you may say, we'll take that bet, you know?
Right. Well, yeah. And to be honest with you, business, it's systematic. The 5%. So if you ask me what I've learned in business, right? Yeah. It is that 95% they fail, and it's a predictable reason. There's a predictable set of things that they do.
Yeah.
Now you look at the 5% and you go, oh, there's a predictable set of things that the 5% does. So now it's not a gambling and I have to count cards. It's knowing the pattern, it's knowing the pattern of how these things work. It's studying, like, all of the shows that I do, I'm constantly diving into public deals and all, because I'm a nerd. I want to know all the time. I want to know, what was that? Why did Enron go down? Right? What was this? Why were people giving them money? What's going on with AI? I want to know the source. I want to know the nature of something.
Yeah.
Right. And so that 5%, what I've learned is that 5% does things completely differently than the 95%.
So I talk about this a lot, and I reference the law of sequence, right? It's not just doing the right things, but you've got to do them in the right order. Getting in your car and driving, all those things are done subconsciously, but we have to do them in a sequential order. We can't just lay on the hood and go, fuck, this thing isn't driving. At some point you got to get in, put the key in, do all these things. Same thing with baking a cake. Like I tell people, like if I gave you the recipe for a cake that's been handed down for generations, don't deviate from the recipe. You don't put frosting on first and then shove it in the oven. And I see so many entrepreneurs, and I'm sure you see this too. They go, wow, that didn't work. I think I'll put more frosting on and do it again and do it again. I'm like, maybe you're pulling the wrong lever. Like maybe this will never work by putting frosting on the cake before you shove it in.
Well, let me tell you, because I love sequence, right? I love sequence, and I love it for this reason. What you just said is that, and when people ask me, like, because we've got consulting, right? Our whole entire model is built up around the idea of built to exit. That's what are the systematic ways that you're going to build it up, pass it over to your kids, sell it to your employees, or just sell it to a private equity. That's the hot thing right now, because there happens to be $4 trillion worth of dry powder out there looking for businesses right now. But when you come to that and people say, hey, Jason, what is it that's different about what you do? I say 80% of what I do is what everybody else does, right? That successful business owners. The two things that really set us apart and my career apart was sequencing. I learned the sequence, right? Second thing that I did was I built an algorithm that ties everything together in a gamification format, right? So those are the two things that really mark my career as something that helps us stand out. And again, I did it for myself. I wasn't doing it to become a guru.
Right.
I just later on figured out I'm good at teaching, and I hate bullies, and I think small and mid-sized companies get bullied a lot. And so it comes down to exactly what you said, is that when people like you, when they hire you as their coach, they're not buying a coach, they're buying certainty in the proper sequence, which is why you do well as a coach. You know the sequence, right? It's like Lee Labrada. If I'm going to learn from, who do I want to learn from? If I want to get shredded and I want to get like bulked up and I want to go out and I want to win Mr. Olympia, who am I going to go hire? Right? The chubby coach at a local gym? Or am I going and Lee Labrada is going to be expensive, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he's got the results. And this is what more people should be requiring of the content and the coaches and the work that they do, and the consultants and their attorneys and everybody else. They should be hiring for results.
So let me ask you this, Jason. This is I had a question, but I'm going to park that over here for a second, because you said something that I think is interesting. When you said they're buying certainty, if someone hires you, and not what they think, but what you feel is really the answer, and this is my thought, and you tell me if I'm wrong. I believe that when they hire you, they're hiring the new identity of who they're going to become when they exit. Who the person they will be when they walk out that door with the exit. It's not the money, right? Because the money is irrelevant in my opinion. I think we both agree. Do you agree with that? They may not realize that. Is that, or am I off?
No, you're not off. Here's when we work with people, right? And I have an unbelievable team, 31 of the best human beings that you could possibly come across, in all the way from the analytics at the beginning, optimizing it for cash flow, pre-exit, due diligence, post diligence. Like, I have an unbelievable team, and we will not start a project because we don't, we're not one of those, we take everybody and we're looking for, we can't like that. And by the way, there's not that many people that are our client, because most people want the easy pill and they're not willing to put the hard work in. Every business can sell. Not every business owner can go through the discipline to come back to exactly what you said, to become the person who can build a business that somebody else wants to buy, right? So we will not start with a client until we are crystal clear on the end game of what is their target, because I can't, it's not for me, it's for them.
Right.
What do you want? Like, what does that look like? And to modify a little bit of what you said, the money matters because everybody's answer is a version of the word freedom. Okay.
Correct.
Not this flaky, I want to have choice in my life. I want to have the choice to sail the seven seas with my family. I want to do some kind of charity. I want to start another business. I want to, become a bodybuilder, or whatever it is that you want to do. You have to pay for that with the free cash flow. The holy grail of why you own a business is called free cash flow.
Yeah. And
with that free cash flow, you can pay for that freedom. Yeah. That's not what people think about, right? What they get lost in, to your point, is that I want to have a bigger car. I want to live in the right neighborhood. I want to put the right pictures up on social media. Who cares? Your machine, your business is the thing that you are running and sacrificing for to gain and pay for your freedom.
Yeah.
Period.
Agreed.
End of sentence.
So let me ask you this, Jason. You obviously grew up, like I did in a tough situation, tough scenario. What belief systems about success or money did you have to change to become Jason that I'm talking to today? And how does that relate to the people that you're talking to today? Because when they look at you, they're like, oh, Jason, you don't get it. Like, Jason, I got a hard fucking background, Jason. You just don't get it.
Right.
And so how did you push through that? And do you have to transfer that to them?
100%. Well, that is why we're honor bound to pass on our knowledge, right? If you are a true leader, and not just a true leader, but a servant. Everybody's like, oh, I want to be a leader. You have to become a servant first. End of sentence. And unless you're good with that, or you're too good to be a servant, you will never be a great leader. And so in that leadership position, and where people need to step into that leadership position, now you're guiding, your team, you're guiding the people that are coming up with you. You're looking to who can I serve, and that starts to become your identity, at the helm of your business. Let
me ask you this. You and I are very similar, that we don't need to do this. Right? It's more of it's a passion. Mm-hmm. Why do you get up and fight every day? What is your why?
Yeah, a great question. And it's so important that the people don't listen to what I'm going to say, but they look into their own heart and they answer that question for themselves.
Yeah.
Here's what I will tell you. I love the question. Everybody's like, well, what keeps you up at night? You just asked me what gets me up in the morning.
Yeah.
That question can only come from somebody who is a great leader, because what keeps you up at night is your worry. Right. And your worry, there's not really anything you can do about it.
Nope.
And it's usually 95% of it's BS anyway.
And it never happens.
It never happens. It never. So, when I started to reimagine my tragedy as success, right? And, being a billionaire, that's just as unlikely to happen in my life back then, right? As it was for me to have catastrophe.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, ask me the question one more time.
I asked what do you get up for and fight for every day? Got it.
So the question of getting up in the morning is like, what inspires you? What fires you up? What gets you rolling? And for me, again, there's only so much you will get from money, right? Great. Now your life starts to become about purpose. We started doing rescues of children. My first passion was domestic violence. And so every 11 minutes, there's a woman being abused in her own home. I wanted to put a dent in that because that's how I grew up. I watched that happen with my mom. So we worked really heavily in that until I went and got exposed to the fact that there is this thing called child sex trafficking, and there's children it's one of the fastest growing crimes on the planet. And it was, kids being sold for sex. And then I broke my heart, and I got invited to go do an undercover rescue with the team that, there's a movie out called Sound of Freedom. And that was the team that I was rescuing with at the time. And then, I went through 10, 11, 12 different rescue teams and ended up with an organization called CERT Ministries out of California. And I've been rescuing with them for the last 6 years. So that gets me up in the morning. It's $3,400 on average to save a child. The families that lose these children to trafficking, generally speaking, don't have the means to be able to find them. CERT Ministries will never take money from them. They really just do, what they can. The whole entire family dedicates their entire life to rescuing kids, and that's all they do. And they survive on donations, right? So that's what gets me up. It's making sure that the last name Sisneros means something to my children, and that something is not a legacy of, oh, your dad was super wealthy. It's that your dad was super helpful, was impactful, he was a super servant, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I hope that they get. But that's what gets me up every morning. And I get to come across people like you, bro. I mean, I know that sounds, whatever, like I'm trying to blow smoke up your ass, but it means that I get to hang around some of the most amazing people that are service oriented because of the crap that happened to them in life.
Right.
They're busy serving and protecting other people against those same things. I love the people I get to hang out with for that exact reason.
Yeah. And I appreciate the kind words. Let me ask you this on a personal level, when you go and do these rescues, do you, two questions in this. Number one is, are you able to detach your personal feelings from what you see so that it doesn't go towards humanity itself? Like, do you notice, do you get skewed and are like, it's gotta weigh on you. I mean, I'm sure I would think to myself, there would be a decompression phase coming out of that. And I don't think you could ever get callous to that, because that's why you do this. How do you deal with that?
It's a great question again that people, I came back from a particular rescue to answer your question. it does get to you. And I came back from one and I was like, it was really heartbreaking. Like, I mean, for all the rescues before that, it was like, okay, you know, we got to get back on
Operation.
Just get going. And this one was like, oh my gosh, it just got to my heart. And I called up one of my dear friends, my mentors, and I said, I don't know if I can do this anymore.
Yeah.
And he said, why? And I said, I mean, I'm having nightmares. Like I can't not think about this. It's like, it's affecting, and I have what I consider a platinum level psychology. You know what I mean? And he said, Jason, there's not very many people who can do what you do. And your mantra to the rest of the world has always been that your home is joy. And for some reason, you've allowed this to make you selfish. Like one of those slaps that only somebody who loves you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I had made it about myself, which is what the world generally speaking does, you know?
Well, I think, you know, listen, I've never done what you've done, so I can't speak from experience at all. I can imagine even police officers or people that are always dealing with that. We're humans, and humans operate on emotions. We're not emotionless. Mm-hmm. And I've got to imagine, you know, seeing I would say some of the worst of humanity can do with what you've had to see and do. I've got to imagine, you know, there's, you know, you come home and you go, man, we've got it pretty good. Like, this is like, I can't get pissed off that Netflix is not loading fast enough today. It's like, you kind of put things into perspective of like, do I really have a position to do that? Let me ask you this. Now that you've gone through so much in your life, right? I mean, you've evolved in so many different areas. When you think of the word freedom for you, like how would you define that? And how is that different than what you were when you were Psycho, the young kid that was, you know, banging and ganging and all that stuff?
Yeah, freedom, you know, it's a very clear picture for me. It's never having to say no to someone in need. It's very clear to me these days. And how that has evolved over time has been, and I'll come back to how that's an interesting dilemma nowadays, right? But back in the old days, freedom to me meant the fancy shit that would impress everybody, which would make them ultimately love me.
Got it.
There's a big house,
the vanity,
the 100% vanity crap, like
right.
The biggest parties and the boat and a big house and the, you know, all of the stuff. And then when you lose it, which I think God has exactly ordered my steps in my entire life. And he gave me that early success so that I could go through those stumbles to come back to what really matters, but to go through it and to see, oh, I did all this stuff. Of course people were around me all the time. Of course they were. Of course they would show up to my day. Of course they would high five me when I came to church. Of course they were like, and then I lost it all and they all disappeared, which then taught me the lesson of people. Like I've got some of the best friends in the world, right? One of the greatest tests of due diligence that you can ever do with anybody you're ever going to work with is do a due diligence test on the people that are their friends.
Yeah.
How long have they been in your life and who are those friends? Right. And you get around me, I've got 20, 30, 15, like years and years and years of golden people that I never would have had in my life because I had to become a better man to deserve those friendships. I had to become a better man to deserve the wife that I have, who's out of this world, unbelievable woman. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's worth it. But that word freedom to me, it had a skewed thing because I would have been the guy going, I want to get a Lambo. I got a Lambo. Nobody cared. Right. No. And so now my life is really centered around that phrase, which is, hey, nobody cares. Which is not it doesn't mean that you don't care about me or we don't care about each other. It just means what we have only matters to people who should not be in our life in the first place.
You know, I'm going to share something with you, and I don't think I've ever really told. I've never done it on a podcast, and I know I've only told a few close friends, but as you know, my son passed away, and I went and saw a medium, and it was, and everyone has their beliefs, but I was ambivalent either way, but there's no doubt in my mind that I was able to speak to my son. And it was, I won't go into depth about that, but one of the things that was interesting is the gentleman who did it, he knew nothing about me, didn't know anything. He said, I don't know what you do. And he, you know, before the event, I didn't answer any questions. He said, I don't know anything. I just want you to walk in and we'll go from there. So I did. And he said, you know, you don't know this, but you are on a path. And he said, part of you having your son in your life and part of your son transitioning to be with you now, because he says, your son is here. He said, this is your journey, not his. He said, this is for you to help more people. And he said, your son was in your life to show love, to show how you can be a better person, to show people that it's possible. And he said, you are here. He goes, your son, it was very weird. It's like, I felt like, you know, obviously, and I don't know if you've ever lost something like that, but it's a very, very somber, obviously very sad. And I'm trying to look at it as something that I can turn into something positive by the scholarship foundation, everything. But I just remember he was like, listen, Steve, this is your journey. Your son entered your life because that's part of your journey. He exited. He goes, he's still here. He's not gone. He's like, he's still here, but it's part of your journey. Like, you are here to help people and you can't stop this. Yeah. This is not for you to stop. And I never forgot that. And it really impacted me to think, like, kind of selfish of me to feel bad for myself when thinking, like, maybe, like you had said, maybe there's a higher reason that I haven't even thought about, that I haven't asked that different question to get a different answer. Does that make sense?
It really does, man. And I've got 5 unbelievable kids, and I've never, you know, that's a special kind of pain that I hope I never get to experience.
Hope you never
do. You know, to try to compare anything that I've gone through in my life to it, I would never do that. So I don't know that kind of pain.
Yeah.
I do, however, believe in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. And, you know, and that's been, you know, Pastor Rudy from our rescue team. When I very first started rescuing with him, Steve, I told him, we met at this event, and he came up to me and we were introduced, and it was a fundraiser for trafficking. I didn't know him. I didn't know what he did, but we got introduced, and he said, I'd love for you to come out. We do rescues, and I'd love for you to come out and hang out with our team. And so everybody was calling him Pastor Rudy. And I said, that's cool, but don't come at me with your Jesus stuff. Right. One of the stupidest things I could possibly
You're like, okay, buddy, listen, let me set the tone here, Padre.
Yeah. So I went rescuing with them, and a lot of the other, and again, nothing against, we did some good work on all the teams that I was on, nothing against anyone. Right. Yeah. But Pastor Rudy's team and being part of his team is something special, because they only care about the girl or the boy, whoever they're going after. That's all they care about. They don't care about notoriety. They don't care about books. They don't care about movies. They don't care about, you know, all of the things that goes along. And a lot of people do in that space. So as I traveled with them, as I went through these rescues, as I was in worship before we would go, as I was in worship while we were there, as I was watching this stuff, I saw miracle after miracle after miracle after miracle. And I saw the history of my life unfold in such a way that became so undeniably ordered by God himself that now Pastor Rudy and I, the text that we send back and forth to each other the most is, God has such an amazing sense of humor, because the things that hurt us the worst prepared us for ultimately our deepest service.
Yeah.
Which, unless we went through those pains, unless I went through the stuff, the child, the childhood that I went, unless I went through these things, I would never have developed the empathy to do the things that God requires of me today for me to be able to show up in heaven and hear, well done. Right. And so for me, I believe everything happens to people for a reason. The reason and the meaning that you give it is the difference between, going back to the freedom concept, is the difference between this unbelievable gift that God has given us called life. We live and experience hell or heaven here, right? I believe we're all going home. I believe we're all going home when we're done, okay? But I believe that it's a choice that we're given whether we want to live heaven or hell here. So I think everything happens for a reason. And I don't ever want to experience what you went through. And I only have so much love and so much compassion for you that you did, but knowing the man that I know in you, that whatever happens, including that, you're going to turn it into service because that's who you are.
Yeah. And it's interesting. It was always the plan, and I was doing this already. And case in point, the person who did this, that helped me, he wouldn't even take my money because he lost a child to suicide. And he said, if you're a parent that lost your child, I don't want your money. I don't want you to donate. I don't want anything. So I'm sitting there thinking, like, this guy's not even asking for anything. And I said, can I buy your airline ticket home? Can I, like, what? And he's like, I don't want anything. This is a gift. You've suffered enough. I know the feeling. I don't know your feeling, but I know the feeling of losing a child. And he said, I want you to know that, there's a bigger picture going on that sometimes we get boxed in. Can
I ask you a question?
Yeah, man.
What is the biggest difference in who you are from before and now?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say, honestly, I'm probably a bit more somber. I think I would say it grounded me, but it also made me realize a little bit more of being present. And the reason I say that is one of the things that was very evident to me, and I obviously, we all love our children. I love my son. Took him to 20 countries. I did a lot. We rode motorcycles together. I really, and he was getting into that age where we were going to hang out more because he was, 19 years old, and we were able to do those things. At his service, there was a couple things that kind of hit me. Is, as a parent, we always feel that it's our responsibility to teach our children, teach them to be responsible, do the right thing, show up, be present, all those things. After he passed, I thought, you know what? Maybe he was here to teach me something. Maybe he was here to teach me to enjoy life a little bit more and to be present in my surroundings. I thought I was, don't get me wrong. And obviously everybody's going to have regrets when you lose a child. I could have done this, I could have done that. And I think I did the best that we could as parents. But I think I just am more aware to be thankful for the relationships, for just the time, to not get wrapped around the axle about things. When people tell me they're having a bad day, I kind of explain to them it could always be worse. So let's just, I'm not saying you're not having a bad day, but let's kind of put things into perspective that it could be worse. So I think I'm more aware, I guess it is the right term that I would say, of other people. And I think I've turned into even more of a servant mentality because I really, really want to help people. I feel, for whatever reason, the calling or whatever you want to call it, I just feel compelled to really talk to people and get them to have that life, to take their kids to the park without their phone. Like something as simple as that, something as simple as putting the phone down and looking at your child. And it doesn't matter what your business is doing or not doing. That's irrelevant. In 100 years, it won't matter. But the time we have will. And so I'm not trying to be a martyr. I'm not trying to say poor me. But I am trying to tell people that if you ever get that knock on the door at 10:30 at night, do you want to be the person that says, I'm glad I did everything I could while I had the time with my spouse, my child, my parent? Or do you want to be the person that says, man, I wish I would have spent more time with them?
Yeah.
And that's all we have. I mean, it's like, what was so, with death, it's so immediate.
Yeah.
And it's so final. Like you don't even get to say goodbye.
Right.
It's such a wow feeling, like, whoa, it just takes the air out of you. And even today, 2 years later, I think about him, I tear up. I obviously I miss him as anybody would miss their child, but I miss more of what he's not going to experience. Never getting married, never, seeing his 21st birthday, things that he will never see that I've gotten to experience, that I know was always a great thing, that he will not get. And so I guess rounding out your question, I want to make sure that I show other people that there is a path that you can take, and being selfless and maybe listening to your kids, because they may be teaching you something that you don't realize. It's not always top down. And there's a lot to be learned. And that was just the BFO, or the epiphany I had at his service.
Wow. That's powerful. It reminds me, I was having, obviously with 5 kids, you have massively different experiences.
Sure. Of course.
and one of my children is incredibly like me, and it's unfortunate for her.
It's unfortunate for everyone else, not for her.
Yeah, not for her. So, but going through challenges, because each one of them, there's been different challenges, and I expect more. And, now I've got 6 grandkids, and, there's lots, and my wife and I now are wanting to have more kids. So, the idea though came from a very wise woman that told me that kids come through us, not from us. And that changed my entire life. That one understanding, they come through us. Like God's putting them, he has his own plan for them, and our job is to love them and do the best that we possibly can along the way, but they come through us, not from us. And that's always been something that helps. So
yeah, that's powerful.
Thanks for sharing that, bro. That's
yeah. I've never had anyone ask me that. You're the first person who's ever, nobody knows what to say, right? I will tell you. And I tell people, I don't even know what to say either. Like, people say, like, I don't know what to say. I'm like, I don't know how to respond. So it's okay to sit in silence. Like, I tell people, like, it's okay. There's no words. People always say, because we feel like we need to, and they're like, can I do something? It's like, there's nothing you could do, honestly. And I don't mean this in a rude way, but unless you have some ability to bring my son back, there's really nothing that can be done. So it's okay just to sit in silence. Like, it's awkward for people, as we know.
Yeah.
But I've learned to be okay with that. And I think it's okay. Everybody feels like they need to help or say something, because it's such an awkward thing. And I tell people, I'm like, there's nothing to be said. I mean, sadly, it's so final. It's just, to me, listen, I lost a brother in a motorcycle accident.
Yeah.
I've lost my father to cancer.
Yeah.
And then I lost my son. Obviously, nothing compares to losing a child. Right. Even my brother, who I was very close with, it's just, it's like half of you is gone. It's literally like half of you is just removed, and it'll never be back. And I remember I went to counseling, and the lady said, it's not my job to tell you it's okay. It's my job to teach you how to live with half your body gone. Because that's the reality we're living in. It's like you lost half your body and it's not coming back. It'll callous over. It will not hurt as much over time, but it'll never heal. And that was the most honest thing that someone has told me, and I appreciated that, because, it's no one's going to say, I mean, there's no food, there's no drink, you can channel grief and pain so many different ways, and I decided to channel mine into helping people. That was what I told myself. I said, I'm going to live like Jet, like the scholarship we have, Live Like Jet. I said, I'm going to live like Jet. I'm going to help people. I'm going to help kids go to trade school. I'm going to be that proponent if people will allow me to, and I can get on to stages to speak about this, to help them if they want to hear. And, and that's what I've been doing. And I feel like I'm making a difference. It's a small difference, obviously. I mean, throwing one starfish back in the ocean type thing, but I saved that starfish. And there's kids' lives, just like you. There's kids' lives that are changed as a result of me being able to help them and me being in their lives. And I'm grateful for that, because if it wasn't for Jet, I would have never met these kids. So he's the conduit that makes that happen.
Yeah. And it's so deeply personal, like not just for you, for everybody. Death is so incredibly personal.
Yeah, very.
Like you said, there's really nothing to be said. The greatest gift that I can give you is just to be who I am without it changing, and to learn a lesson and to have a conversation. I learned a lot in what you just said.
I appreciate that.
And I appreciate
that. Well, listen, man, I know we've taken up a lot of your time, and I'm super excited to have you come down to the conference, Mach 5, October 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. I know you said you're going to come hang out. Eli Wild, your buddy's going to be there, my coach now, and just a jam-packed schedule of just operators. And I anything you want to tell people about coming, why they should come, what they're going to get out of this camaraderie and relationship building?
Well, I'll tell you why I'm coming. And, and I don't go to the, I'm very, very, people know this, that anybody that follows me for any period of time, I could be on a lot of stages, and I'm very, very choosy about the ones that I do go on. And you said it yourself. You are, that circle of people around you, right? That in that picture behind you there, is full of operators. It's people that have actually done stuff. It's people that are actually doing stuff. There's different perspectives, and people that are going to show up at your place. They know they're not going to get filtered horse shit.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a pitch fest. It's going to be a servant fest.
Yeah.
So that's why I chose to come, was because I was like, yeah, I want to be a part of that. And, and I want to be around real business owners. Again, I had my very first podcast, Steve, was called The Bald Avenger Show, right? The Bald Avenger. And, I put a lot of time and effort into the logo, and, it's the only logo that I've ever really got involved with,
Love that.
And that was my first podcast, but it was around the idea of, anti-domestic violence and feeding people and trafficking and, and just standing up. Right. And I love, the fact that because I was bullied, I have become incredibly anti-bully in my activities and my actions. Keith Cunningham is has been a mentor of mine for a lot of years, and I was part of his, chairman's, council for about a decade. And one of the things that becoming successful has helped me do, and why I became successful in the first place, was to help the vulnerable. And there's nobody more vulnerable. We've got children, but what I saw almost happened to our country. We are incredibly vulnerable to us slipping all of this freedom that we have, the ability that we can come to your event. And that is a snapshot in time in history. For somebody to be able to pick up and go start a business and be able to change the stars of their family by owning a business and doing this thing called business.
I love it, man.
If we lose that, we're all done for. And that's why I'm coming, is to light that stage on fire and to hang out with you and hopefully get a workout with Lee. That'd be a bucket list.
It's gonna be great.
He's a hero. He's one of my heroes.
Yeah, you're gonna love him, and he's such a, you always hear the thing, don't meet your heroes. That is not true with him. I can personally tell you, I've spoken to his teams, I've spoken to his company and his sales groups, and every single time, man. This guy is just such a class act. I'm so impressed by him. He calls and checks on me all the time. And hey, man, how you doing? This is a guy that I used to read magazines about as a kid. And now, one day we carpooled together. I had to take him to work because all of his cars were in the shop. And I'm like, I'm carpooling with Lee Labrada, and it's just so funny.
That's awesome.
Oh, man. Well, Jason, brother, listen, it was great having you, my friend. Dude, I cannot freaking wait for October to get here. Mach 5 is going to be something for the books. It is, we are planting our flag. And I just can't wait to build that community with you and really just give people a sneak peek into the people that I'm blessed to meet, people like you and Eli and all these other people. People are just getting that sneak peek, and I just freaking love it, man. I really do. So
they're in for something special. I can tell you that much.
They are in for something special, and the people that meet you they don't even realize how blessed they are yet until you shake their hand and talk to them. So, awesome. Man, thank you so much for being on, Jason. I appreciate it, brother.
My pleasure, brother. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. And for those of you watching, thank you for another great episode of High Stakes with Steve Rozenberg. If you want to know more about Mach 5, it will be in the show notes. Jason will be there. This is going to be a jam-packed event. You're going to love it. I guarantee this is going to be something that you're going to think about. You can't wait to come back next year. So let's go. Come to the event. Come, let's hang out. Let's make some friendship, break bread, shake hands, do all the stuff we used to do, and let's do it again. So on behalf of Jason and myself, we will catch you guys next week. Bye-bye.